technically the term Vedanta consists of two terms, Veda and Anta, which refers to the end portion of Vedas, which refers to the Upanishads. So, Vedanta literally means Upanishads. But what is interesting is there is a pun on that word Vedanta. Anta, you can say, is the end or culmination, and Veda means knowledge. So, the culmination of all knowledge is Vedanta. So, that means what is the end of all knowledge? The end of all knowledge is the knowledge of one's own self, the real self, what you may call as Atma or anything. So, that is referred to as Vedanta. But from a common man's point of view, what we know about ourselves, what we believe ourselves to be as this body-mind complex, there is something beyond this which is not known to us now. So, that is referred to as your essential personality, and revealing that is the essential knowledge of Vedanta. And if you want to bring it even further down from a practical point of view, everybody in the world wants a little bit peace of mind and material prosperity. We see that in the world people get one at the cost of the other, meaning either people are active and productive but losing their sleep or peace of mind, or they are peaceful in their own way but not being extremely active or productive. So, either this or that is what we commonly see in this world. Let us say you take the entire Western population, in general I am saying, they are very productive and very prosperous, but from their own admission they are losing the peace of mind. When you see the divorce rates, when you see the crime rates, these are all indicators of the harmonious state of the mind which is not there. If you go to any villages here, people are generally peaceful, you will see a smile on their face, but not much activity, not much productivity. So, it is either this or that. How can we combine both? That you can say is the knowledge of practical Vedanta. So, I got introduced to this knowledge through the institute called Vedanta Academy, where I studied. It is founded by internationally eminent philosopher and spiritual guide Swami Parthasarathy. So, this institute was founded in 1988 and it has been continuously running since then. So, it is like you can say a modern Gurukul type of system, where the knowledge of Vedanta is imparted in a 3 years full-time residential course for youngsters. So, I joined there in 96 December, and Swamiji has been our chief Acharya there, and under his guidance I studied there. And after the completion of the course, all of us, we are free to do whatever we want, but some of us try to take this up full time under his guidance, whatever we can study further and maybe pass on the knowledge to others also. So, when there was a requirement of a student in Kolkata in around February 2002, that is when I chose to come to Kolkata and continue with this here. So, I do my studies and I take classes here. Vedanta Institute Kolkata is a registered public charitable trust. It is based in Kolkata. So, every year what happens is that we invite Swamiji or his daughter disciple Sunandaji for the annual public lectures. This happens in all the cities in India and all over the world also, because we have such alumni stationed in all English speaking countries, in America, in Britain, in the Middle East, in Australia, in Singapore, Malaysia also, and apart from that in Chennai, Delhi, Bombay, Pune, everywhere. So, in order to arrange this, we need we need to collect funds, we need to publicize, we need to book the auditorium. So, a local institute or a local body, if it is there in each city, it helps. So, that is why Vedanta Institute Kolkata was formed to carry out the institute activities, which is mainly the annual public lectures, and those who are inspired and interested by it, they want to continue the studies in weekly basis, we do that. So, to support all those instituted activities is what is the main objective of Vedanta Institute Kolkata also. So, it is to disseminate the knowledge, that is the basic aim, that we do through talks to service organizations, to religious institutions, to schools and colleges, So, this knowledge has to be taken to each and every section of the society in a way by which they will be able to appreciate and understand at that level. So, to sustain all that activities, such an institute is formed, and even for children now we are taking classes which is to introduce the knowledge at their level, let us say through stories, through singing and other things also. So, that is the primary objective. So, Vedanta essentially is a very deep and terse subject. Ultimately, it is explaining, as I said, what your real personality is, what is the essential nature of what people call as God is, who is God, what is this nature of the world, how is it all created, how is it all sustained. These are the ultimate questions of life, and it will come out of anybody's mind at critical points. What is this life all about? What is my role and goal in life? How is this individual connected to the totality? This type of questions, these are analyzed and answered thousands and thousands of years ago by our rishis, and the collection of which is what is essentially called as Vedanta. More than any objective subjects like a nuclear science or any subtle subject that you can think in terms of the worldly knowledge, this is far more subtler because it is talking about those things which are imperceptible to us. Even certain things that we talk about our mind or thoughts itself, we can understand, we can experience it, but to go deep inside ourselves and to relate to what is being said there, it needs a lot of thinking, contemplation, etc. So, the subject therefore is very terse and deep. Now, this contains various topics about karma, reincarnation, perception, or what is the nature of the world as illusion. So many things are covered. So, one of the topics that is covered in Vedanta is that how is it that our life carries on? Is it predestined by somebody whom we call as God? They say no, that is everything is written on the forehead right at the time of birth. Is it something that is written, or if it is written, who has written it? Do you have any power to change it? Is the change gradual or is it drastic, if at all there is a change? Can human effort do anything to have certain amount of control over his activities? These are the questions that have baffled human minds from time immemorial. So, these questions are also analyzed from Vedantic point of view, and various rishis and also various masters in the parampara, from time to time they have offered their insight into it, not only from what the scriptures are saying, but from their personal living wisdom also. So, certain topics, however much we intellectually try to understand also, it may not be fully understandable just by the intellect, but we need to get into it deeply, live it, experience it to understand it. One such topic is this fate versus free will. Whether do we have free will? Free will is a term, English term, which we may not have a direct a Sanskrit or Hindi translation. We can do Swadhin Ichcha, something like that, where my will, is it free, or is it somebody who has said my life has to be like this only. This is a never ending debate actually. So, this topic we have chosen basically to bring out the clarity in the subject as far as possible, both for the speaker and the audience. That is the primary objective. And more importantly, anything that has to be practically applied in life. Suppose you say, why don't we take a topic like stress management or time management, work ethics, which you can say is directly applicable in a work environment or in a household, harmony in marriage. It's also a very nice topic, which will, you can say, which will directly benefit married couples, or how to mold your children, which will directly benefit the parents. No doubt these are also topics that we do take up from time to time and discuss, but anything that is practical has to be backed by a very strong theory. This is the law. So, if I have to bring about a change in my thought process, my thought has to be saturated with the right ideas which will come by deeper understanding of the truthful concepts that are given here. So, that is the essential method of Vedanta. So, it is only exposing the seekers to the truth behind everything, as science would expose the truth behind everything. You do not believe the scientist, you have respect for the scientist. The scientist has given out the truths based on his experiments. Whether it is Newton, Einstein or Galileo, all great scientists, we can be respectful to them. But whatever they have said, you experiment in the laboratory to find out the truth for yourself. Similar is the approach that we are recommended for Vedanta, that the knowledge given in scriptures, which is an eternal science. So, the objective science explains about the world that you see. Here is a subjective science which is explaining about yourself. So, what is being talked about yourself, whether it is fate, whether it is free will, this type of a theory has to go deeper into your system. Only when it settles in your system, which is going to make about a practical change in your thought process. It may be a long term process, but that is how it has to be brought about. Such a change in the personality comes over a period of time, and that sets his path in the right direction. Irrespective of whether you meet God in this lifetime or not, your path is set in the right direction, and that is the assurance of Vedanta. That is what it is. See, suppose if I am going to say that whatever actions you perform, ultimately you are responsible for the outcomes of that action. So, if a man feels stressed or if a man feels happy, you are responsible for both is the theorem that is given. So, you make yourself, you mar yourself, this is the ultimate truth that Vedanta says. So, like scientific equations, these cryptic theorems are given as statements for us to contemplate and think about. Now, when we talk about this fate and free will, and we come to the conclusion, let us say that fate is something that whatever karma that you have done in the past is what has become your destiny now. So, whatever you undergo, you cannot blame anybody outside you. If this type of a thought process at least has got initiated into that person, whenever he encounters any problem, even at a practical level, let us say with his wife, with his boss in the office, or with his driver or anybody, if I am getting agitated about anything, the problem lies with me. I cannot blame anybody outside me. This thing will first strike him. So, he will be first of all at peace with this thought, so that he will at least stop blaming the external world for his happiness or misery. So, that onus or responsibility or the final accountability that one has to take, that is getting transferred to the individual. So, all these things cannot obviously come in one lecture or one study or one session or something like that, but these are seeds that are sown. So, these are, as I said, the essential deep philosophical thoughts that are contained in Vedanta. But if these thoughts are thrown, and if few people are even able to catch that hook, and if they go into the thought process of wanting to know more about Vedanta, wanting to know more about what this knowledge is all about, they will probably start from the basics, to start from what is my body, what is my mind, all that basic ABC lessons they will start from, and ultimately even come to the level at which the ultimate Vedanta also talks. So, whatever is applicable to us at the practical level is founded by this theory. So, that is where it connects to the practical day-to-day lives. Basically, these talks are open for all and anybody can attend, but considering the terseness of the subject, we can say it will be appealing to anybody above the age of, I would say, 13, 14 or somebody who has a little bit logical mind, because what is given in Vedanta is purely scientific. It goes by logic and reason. It does not say do's and don'ts. There are no impositions, because anything forced is never forceful. That is the law. If I particularly ask you to go to a temple, if the parent pushes the teenager, he will say, you go, I will not go, because anything that is forced, it creates the opposite reaction. From mind tends to do the opposite. Rather, you tell, see, science does not say keep the finger in fire or don't keep the finger in fire. It does not say. It only says what will happen if you keep the finger in fire, what is the quality of fire. heat is the quality of air and what it can burn, how it can burn, that much it will say. So, it is up to you then to keep the finger or not keep the finger. It is to safeguard yourself, it is up to you. Gravitation force is there. Science explains what gravitational forces, that every object will be attracted to earth at a particular speed, 9.8 meter per second square is the law. Now, science will not say be careful, don't go beyond the parapet wall or you stay inside. Science will not say that. Once you know the law, you know how to align yourself with gravity and protect yourself. Exactly like that, laws of life are given in Vedanta in a particular way. Whether it is not the question of whether you believe in gravity or not, gravity functions. You will be saved if you are aligned to the law. Exactly like that, various laws are functioning at our internal level. It is not the question of whether I believe it or not. It is for you to experiment and find out how it is functioning and then align yourself to this law. So, anybody who is quite rational, little bit rational and thinking, particularly because youngsters need to be introduced what you call as religion or spirituality in a way that it will satisfy them. They are going to question, they are not going to take things for granted. Up to a very young age, they have no choice, they will come with you, go with you, and they are forced to do whatever they are forced to do. But as a teenager, they will question, who is God? Show me. Or where is heaven? What are you talking? All these questions they will ask, and you must be able to satisfactorily answer them. So, for such type of persons is this type of lecture aimed. Obviously, anybody above that age, obviously they are most welcome, but if youngsters can come, it will be much more beneficial for them. Various sources of knowledge, and in this country, particularly for this knowledge, when I say the spiritual knowledge, the pramana or the source of knowledge, the way of learning that knowledge, they call it by the name agama or tradition. Tradition has a lot of weightage. Any knowledge for that matter, not just spiritual knowledge, even if it is a music, even if it is a dance, a person goes to his guru and learns music, and he has learned from his guru, he has learned from his guru. So, there has been a unbroken lineage or tradition of the guru and shishya. When it comes to the spiritual knowledge, where the master is trying to explain the unknown reality, unseen reality, which cannot be explained in words, in a language probably that you can try and understand, he is bringing it down to your level, and he is not just quoting the scriptures, and he is also, as I said, living that knowledge from his own experience he is teaching you. That weightage is carried for thousands and thousands of years. This is called as a Guru Shishya Parampara. So, in this Guru Shishya Parampara, in our tradition, unlike the other religions which are founded or based on a particular prophet, we do not have any such one particular central figure, you can say. Various sages, various rishis and saints from all corners of this country, everywhere, all have contributed, just as in one way you can say a parallel is various scientists have contributed to science. There is no one central figure in science, like that it is. But even in this lineage, if there are various traditions, even in our own Vedantic traditions and Hindu traditions, there are various traditions. All of them accept and look up to this great sage called Vedavyasa, who is in the middle of this lineage. Sage Vedavyasa is considered to be the chief guru who has codified the Vedas, who has given the Vedanta in the form of Brahma Sutra, who has written the Mahabharata, and the Hinduism as it is being practiced now, as we see, is chiefly attributed to the codes that he had formulated. So, he forms one of the key central figures in this entire parampara or lineage. So, the Vyasa Jayanti, Vedavyasa Jayanti is celebrated on Vyasa Purnima, and that is considered as Guru Purnima. So, Guru Purnima is a day in which we remember all the great gurus, sage Vedavyasa, and in that lineage up to our guru. each and every tradition up to their guru. We pay homage to them, we remember their contribution, and we devotedly gather and pay our obeisance to them. And on this Guru Purnima day, it has been a tradition that this Vedantic knowledge is spread out by various teachers in their own way, and our Swamiji has been doing this unbroken for many decades now. So, we are also inspired by that. So, on the Guru Purnima actually falls on, I think, 13th of July, but we found a weekend, Saturday and Sunday on 2nd and 3rd. So, that is why the lecture is connected with Guru Purnima. So, each year we take up a topic and discuss about that. On that basis, Guru Purnima is celebrated by us also. In every way, people go and visit the Gurus, they offer whatever they want to offer, and they sing glories of the Gurus, they talk about certain subjects. In each and every way, they want to remember and pay their gratitude towards the Guru. Vedanta is probably a direct answer to this, in the sense, as I said, what does practical Vedanta teach us? Practical Vedanta teaches us that the entire problem that we face, any problem that you can take for example, it could be a problem of parents and children, it could be problems in the office, it could be financial crunch, it could be various other problems that everybody, if you ask each and every person, he will point out to something or the other. If you ask poor person, he will point out to something, rich person has his own set of problems in some other way. Each and everybody, nobody is bereft of this problem. Vedanta points out that the source or the root cause of the problem, as I said before, is internal to you. It is not external to you. So, what is really causing the problem? Per se, in the world there is no problem. Just to give us an example, a person picks up a cigarette and smokes, and he finds immense pleasure in it. Particularly if he is smoking after a long time, he is actually happy. But another person runs away from smoke. Even if you are smoking here, I will run away to there. So, this person detests smokes. Cigarette being the same produces pain to one and pleasure to another. One person may want to divorce one lady, another person wants to marry the same lady. So, but lady being the same produces pain to one, pleasure to another. How is it possible? If the pain or pleasure is inherent in cigarette, it should produce pleasure to all or pain to all. That does not happen. So, it is not in the cigarette, it is how I relate with cigarette. So, actually it is how it is within me. So, this essential knowledge is what Vedanta says and points out that whenever and wherever you see a stress or a problem or anything, you have to spot it internally. And what is really causing this problem is your uncontrolled emotions or the mind, as you want to call it. That is why, in a way, mind is personified as the devil that is standing between man and God in all religions. Satan is not some external figure, or shaitan as they call in Islam. It is not an external figure, or asura. Symbolically, it represents your uncontrolled mind. That is causing see, you can have a perfect family. Let us say your husband is very good, your child is very good, your financial situation is very good, your house and everything is very good, yet you can feel extremely agitated. You can create a hell out of that heaven. On the other hand, this is what Milton also says in Paradise Lost. Mind in its own place can create a hell out of heaven and heaven out of hell. You can be in extreme slum with all filth around and no proper material amenities, yet you can feel happy inside. So, both these things only prove it is all depending on how you are able to train and channelize and keep your mind under control. Emotions is a virtue. Emotions you must have. If we do not have emotions, we are like plants. But we must not allow our decisions and actions to be guided by the emotions. Our decisions and actions must be from our buddhi or intellect. This is the most important lesson of practical Vedanta. And our Swamiji has been harping on this for the last 6 decades. Animals also have emotions, but what is the difference between an animal and a human being is, animal's life is computerized. It is well set in motion. Animal need not do anything apart from its life, it cannot do. Cow can be mild, meek, it will give milk, it is soft, that is eat grass, that is all. A tiger is ferocious, it will kill and eat, it has no choice. But a human being seems to have a choice. I can be as meek as a cow also, I can be as ferocious as a tiger also. So, since the choice is given, on what basis do we choose? The choice is based on my intellect or buddhi. That is why human being stands like this erect. Heart is here and head is here. Heart is the most important organ, because if heart is gone, you are gone. But heart should be under the control of the head. Heart, don't stifle it, don't frustrate it, but you have to channelize that emotion, for which intellect has to be developed. Intellect does not develop automatically with age or with even your school education or university education. You get knowledge, you can get a job, you will get a living, you can earn a living out of it. That does not teach you how to handle your life. That does not teach you how to channelize your emotions. That does not teach you how to even apply the intelligence at the critical times. This requires what is known as the strength of intellect, and that is precisely what Vedanta gives. So, if basic lessons of Vedanta is given to students, particularly at a young age, I would say, when they are going into the teens, and obviously the adults also, this will help them maintain their emotional balance. In each and every circumstance, they know how to relate with people. See, otherwise, how do you explain that a person takes so much time to choose a person and court that person and get into marriage? Very soon the divorce happens. How do we, and this is on an increasing note. We see the percentages very high in developed countries. Since we are developing, we are also developing that percentage also. Now, this is not something which is a very happy situation, right? Now, the question is, you are choosing so much time to choose a partner, but have you invested time to know the art of right relationship with the partner? So, that is exactly what Vedanta teaches us. So, Vedanta at the practical level teaches us what is a mind, what is the nature of your mind, what is the nature of your intellect, how to develop that intellect, what is the material that is required to develop that intellect, and how that material, which is all given in a very terse and cryptic language like Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and other thing, can be brought down to our contemporary thought and language. That, I would say, is one of the greatest contributions of our Swamiji, Swami Parthasarathy, that he has written simple books which is contemporary. See, what Adi Shankaracharya and others wrote in that time, in that language, it is the same thing that is presented in the modern time, so that anybody about the age of 10, 12, 14 can take it up and read and understand. That little bit of development of intellect is going to produce harmonious relationship, help you choose your career, handle money. You know how to earn money, but do you know how to handle money? You know how to build up your muscles, how to maintain that health throughout, how to exercise control over your senses. See, you can indulge in the senses, but if doctor says tomorrow you should not eat sweet, how do you like it? But there is a way by which at 95 I can say Swamiji is able to still relish a mango and eat it. It is a question of understanding these principles and applying it on yourself. This is where at the practical level also Vedanta helps. Bhagavad Gita is Vedanta, okay, and Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are all our itihasas, they are also conveying the same message, but in a form of big stories, which not only give the essential message of Vedanta, they also teach us characters and conduct and values and various other things. So, it is very, very essential, as you rightly said. We had this a tradition of grandmother telling the children, grandchildren the stories. Nowadays, whether the grandparents themselves know, we do not know. Grandchildren don't have time also. They are having so much busy appointment and from, let's say, one basketball class to some other class, and they are moving and they just don't have time. So, it is very sad that this type of a family oriented education system is also not as prevalent. Particularly we see also all these nuclear families and everything. Now, the question is how to bring about bring this knowledge to the level of the youngsters. One idea that is envisaged by our Swamiji is that, see, what is that the youngsters are looking for? They are looking forward to success, they are looking forward to career, they are looking forward to money, they are looking for, these are the, as you said also, there is a rat race that they, before we even realize, they are getting into it. Right. A person must invest some time to think about where he is going, what he is doing before he can even plunge into something. So, the 3-year course at Vedanta Academy, which is for youngsters, is precisely that. Say suppose if you are assuming that you send goods to somewhere, you insure that goods, that insurance is 10% or some amount you have to pay. Exactly like that, as an insurance premium for your life, you need to spend that 3 years as an insurance premium, which fits in, let us say, the shock absorber. Though any road that you can ride, that shock absorber will be able to absorb the shocks and it will keep your journey smooth. This is the knowledge of Vedanta. Now, for those who cannot commit to 3 years or something like that, I would say if the educational institutions and others, other institutions, schools, if they encourage, the way to inculcate this knowledge is by way of topics that will be useful and attractive to them also, but without compromising on the core principle, without compromising on the core knowledge, we can deliver the same in the sense of talk about self-management. That is what we try to do wherever we get a chance in corporate or schools or colleges also, because to be honest, taking this knowledge to educational institutions is also not that easy in this country. The origin of this knowledge is in this country, particularly in this state where we are also, I am saying, because immediately it is related with a religion, and then they talk about secularism, there is various things come up and it is difficult. So, wherever we get a chance, we are ready and we are forthcoming to pass on the knowledge, but there is a external resistance to it. So, how we are trying to say it is, whether a person belonging to any faith, be him a Buddhist or a Christian or a Islamist, a Muslim or a Hindu or anybody, everybody wants success, everybody wants their mind to be peaceful, and it is a technique. It does not come suddenly in a very haphazard way, it is scientific way. So, you need to understand the reason or logic behind it. So, in that way the knowledge can be taken in the form of self-management, to talk them about success, about handling money, about the nature of mind, about the mental temperaments, how to measure your personality, how to deal with corruption, what are the work ethics. These are the topics which are applicable and common for all, and with the base which is given in Bhagavad Gita, which is given in the Upanishads, you can bring such topics to them, and I would say at a very young age, you can always definitely introduce the knowledge of Ramayana, Mahabharata and stories, because stories is a very powerful form of communication. When we talk about even Gandhi heard Harishchandra's story, then the thought that I must be always truthful is deeply implanted in his mind. So, stories have that impact even in a very young child, even in everybody's mind, and everybody is interested also in stories, right. So, therefore, we also have classes for kids from ages 5 onwards, where you introduce chanting, singing, little bit stories, little bit pranayama, a way by which they can be kept engaged for about an hour or so, and this is the way to take this knowledge forward. I would say even media like this, if you are able to highlight this aspect of it, and there we are not saying we are the only institution, there can be other similar institutions and other inspired people who are themselves trained like this. There are enough sources to take this forward in the modern contemporary thought and language.